Well, hello YouTubers, this is Bob Hickman. It is so good to be back with all of you guys. Well, a lot of you have been writing to me lately and you've been saying, Bob, I'm trying to connect to a spirit guide. I'm just not having much luck. I don't know. I feel like nobody in the spirit world cares about me. Well, first of all, let me tell you, everybody, regardless of who you are, does have help from the spirit world. You know, sometimes when we're trying to connect to that other world, it seems so vague and nebulous and hard to reach. Well, I find that sometimes asking help along the way is a wonderful way to reach out to the spirit world. For those of you who have thought, well, I wish I knew at least one person in the spirit world, I'm going to introduce you to one of my beloved friends in spirit. That's right. I have behind me here, you can see, this is a picture. This is a very famous Catholic monk. In fact, he's now become a saint. When he was alive, he was known as Padre Pio. And Padre Pio lived in Italy, and he lived in a little town called San Giovanni. And he was a Franciscan monk. The Franciscans are known for wearing their brown robes, and they live lives of simplicity and poverty and humility, always helping the poor. And Padre Pio was a wonderful Franciscan. He's been an inspiration to me for a long time, and I just love him. He lived from 1887 till 1968. And I really like the fact that he lived up until 1968 because I was born in January of 68 and he died in September. So 9 months of my life I was on the earth at the same time as this amazing person. Now, I never met him, of course, but I know people who had personally met Padre Pio back in the 60s, and they tell me stories about him, and he was a wonderful and amazing and a blessed soul. Padre Pio was noted for many miraculous events. He used to do healing, he had the gifts of prophecy, he had the gifts of bilocation, and probably what he's most known for is the stigmata. The stigmata, if you notice here in the picture, he has 2 open wounds on his hands. Let me bring this closer. And Padre Pio claims to have had a vision of Christ on the cross. And then he claimed at one point that Christ appeared standing before him. And after the vision faded, the signs of the crucifixion appeared on his body. Now, Padre Pio had nail holes that were actually in the hands, which you can see here. This is a rare picture because for many years he was not allowed to show these stigmata to the public. The church thought it was so sensational, they asked him to wear gloves. So this is one of the few pictures of him with the stigmata. He also had in the side the wound like Christ had on the cross, and many people would see blood coming from his forehead as if he had been pierced with a crown of thorns. So Padre Pio was investigated by the Vatican. He was investigated by medical doctors. Nobody could explain these wounds, and they stayed on his body for 50 years and never healed. But he offered it up as a prayer. Padre Pio very much believed that if one found oneself in a place of suffering, that one would embrace the suffering and offer it for souls who are in greater suffering, and that he turned it into a prayer. I think that's a really beautiful way to understand how to deal with suffering, and I think we can all learn from that. Rather than being bitter, turn your suffering into a blessing. Anyways, you know me, I'm a mystic, and I love mystics. I don't care whether they're Wiccan, Catholic, Buddhist, I love mystics. Padre Pio is a wonderful and powerful mystic. And I'd like to encourage you guys, if you're trying to connect to the spiritual realm, maybe you want to ask for Padre Pio to pray for you. Ask him to help you. Many people have had contact with him. I myself have had contact with him, and I think he's absolutely wonderful. I'm a big fan of him. And I think that we'd all do well to embrace him and to bring him into our spiritual lives. If you wanted to get to know Padre Pio, just look him up. Do some research. There are books about him. And you can find this picture. Just go online, do an image search for Padre Pio, and you can find an image of him and print it out. In fact, what I think I'll do is I'll put this image on my website, and you guys can go there and have this exact image. You can take it off my website. Okay? So anyways, check out Padre Pio. I think for a lot of you, you're going to find that he comes to you. You know, many people have reported that when they pray to him, that the room fills with an amazing perfume smell. They call it the odor of heaven, the odor of sanctity. He certainly was a devout soul, and some people might even have thought him a little bit on the fanatical side. But Padre Pio followed God in his heart, and he followed his understanding of his calling in relation to the divine. And I think we have to respect him for that, no matter what our religion. Anyways, I love Padre Pio, and I think the best way to connect with him is simply speak to him. You know, if you want to put up a little picture like I did here, you can do that. As you see here, I put up I have a little cloth. I just have a little white piece of cloth here, linen, and I put that out. Now, you don't have to have linen. You can have anything. Put his picture on it, and I always like to use candles, so I got a little white candle here and put it in a votive holder. And actually, I left my matches out at my house, but that's all right. The candles here will light it in spirit. And, you know, it doesn't take much to set up just a little shrine. And if you set this up and you meditate and you ask for Padre Pio's intercession, I bet you he'll come and he'll help you. He's a miracle worker like that. I know he's come to me at many times. And, you know, he's full of love and goodness and light. And you can't go wrong. So no matter what your faith, reach out to Padre Pio. Ask him to help you. And I think you'll get a wonderful blessing from the spiritual world. Anyways, guys, thanks for being here. This is Bob Hickman. Listen, keep it here at Spirit Channel. We'll have more videos coming. God bless you all. And remember, Padre Pio.